Minshew's going to talk, and I'll probably have more information so we can talk about it more directly on Thursday, if that's okay with you guys.
Absolutely. I'll be curious. We'll talk about it for sure, but yeah, that'll be a point of conversation on Thursday night. So meanwhile, David, look forward to seeing what you bring to the table then, and we'll definitely be making sure we do a live broadcast this week, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Okay, buddy?
We'll be good, and I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All my pleasure. Appreciate you very much. All right. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Have a good one.
What are your takes?
So, yeah, I want to pose to you the same question that I posed to him about Minshew. If they go 3-1 and they finish 7-9, we know realistically that Marrone is on the way out. I mean, when David talked to us in the pre-production meeting before last week's show, he said that there was a sense of melancholy in the tone of Marrone's voice, so he kind of knows that he's on his way out. But what do you do if Minshew goes 3-1 in these next 4 games?
Doesn't matter. I think the decision's already made. And it depends on what coaches are available. That's really what it comes down to.
You genuinely think well, as far as the quarterback situation goes, you think they go into next season with Foles as their quarterback?
No way.
No?
No. I mean, you're asking me, I'm giving you a definitive answer. It didn't take a lot for me to come up with that conclusion.
Yeah.
I know what I saw Sunday. I know what we've seen the majority of the year. I do.
I believe when he was benched, it was like a 25-3 game. So not only was their offense struggling, and a lot of that can be attributed to Foles. Yeah, he threw that costly interception, 3 sacks, and then the penalty that you guys discussed.
The first half was just a tough half for him, is what it was.
But Minshew did look good when he came into the game.
He showed a little bit of spark. They couldn't score in the red zone. Obviously, they couldn't, but the reality is that they couldn't score in the red zone.
The funny thing is, though, is that both times that Foles has left games, and one was due to injury, the other was due to the fact that he was just benched due to poor performance. Minshew has come in and he's played, well to his abilities. He's done a fantastic job. I thought, he's been serviceable, and I thought he was great when he came in on Sunday. Obviously, they didn't win, but they did what they had to do. Now, you said earlier, though, that you think Foles would make sense in Philly, but you think he's going to stay there, though? You think he'll stay in Jacksonville?
Anything's possible.
Yeah. I get it. That makes sense. I think they'll do well against the Chargers, though. The Chargers don't necessarily... They have a run-heavy offense, but I think that run offense, and you'd agree with me on this, has to do with the fact that they just don't trust Phillip Rivers as much anymore. Remember, we talked a couple weeks ago, Rivers threw 4 picks in that Monday night game against the Chiefs, or the Thursday night game, I believe. I mean, so, he struggled. He's had his problems. I think at 39 years old, they're starting to see, this guy's maybe not, he doesn't have much longer in the league left. They got to rely more on the likes of Melvin Gordon and company to carry the load.
Well, they do. I mean, again, I'm not saying that there aren't any trading partners out there for Foles. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. But you also have to understand, that do the Chargers have a succession plan in place themselves? There's a lot of variables when you're dealing with veteran quarterbacks. And you know what? David mentioned, who knows, maybe he might just be ready to retire. I don't think he will. I still think that you want to be able to make sure that when you evaluate a quarterback situation, that you do it with all the intelligent parties involved. Mm-hmm. We don't know what coach is going to be in place. And I think the biggest thing I mentioned was Foles should have been playing during the preseason. It's one thing to be cautious, but you got to be able to blend. It's okay to be cautious, but if you're a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's been with familiar players, although I think the Packers got off to a slow start there too. Mm-hmm. Every situation is different.
Yeah, and you know what? We're talking about the Chargers and Phillip Rivers struggles. Do you think maybe that's a trading partner possibly for Foles? I mean, I don't know if they want to take on the salary, but they're probably going to have a new offensive coordinator at the start of the season. Right. They may have a new head coach. I mean, they're not playing to their full capabilities. We know Rivers is getting older, and we've seen him struggle in the passing game. You think Foles could be a fit there?
Anything's possible. That's all I can tell you. You're going to ask me the same question. I'll say anything is possible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in the business to predict who's going to do what. All I can tell you is there'll be a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. There'll be a lot of teams looking for coaches.
Yeah, the Kevin Garnett response is always appreciated, and it's definitely appropriate here. So.
Well, I mean, again, it's all speculation. We still have another 4 games to go. I remember before Mel Farr comes on the program when the Lions signed Scott Mitchell from the Dolphins, and they let Eric Kramer go, and Eric Kramer was the last Lions quarterback to win a playoff game, and I think he should have had it, but you never know who your successor is. The quarterback position is just one of those types of positions which is just too difficult to predict.
Yeah, and we obviously there's those rare cases where you see guys there with one team for an extended period of time and they played to a high caliber. I think obviously Mahomes is the next in that class. Russell Wilson obviously has already established himself. But Jacksonville, I think, has that answer in Minshew. I just think you have to surround him. But, I mean, realistically, like they're 4-8 now, but I don't think they'll be in this bit of despair next year. I think they'll have a new coach that'll be able to work with them, and David would probably agree with both of us. The draft picks are going to come in handy. You know, getting rid of Jalen Ramsey before he gets expensive.
Too. Oh, yeah, but I don't think that those draft choices are going to be indicative of the quarterback. They're going to have other positions to fill. I think one of the things that they'll probably end up doing, and this is just pure speculation, is Leonard Fournette's had a lot of carries. You need a guy who you really feel could definitely spell him that you can really count on. With that said, we have Mel Farr coming on the program, and Mel, thank you for being on the Sports Exchange. We're glad to have you with us, Mel.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So, all right, Mel, let's talk about some NFL headlines, all right? Josh Shaw made a parlay bet on the Cardinals game. Not a good move.
No, I mean, that's never a good move, and that's the kind of things that they worry about with, with Las Vegas. That's one of the things in your contracts. They talk about it during training camp, what you can and cannot do, and one of the things you can't do is you can't go to Las Vegas. You can't go to a casino. I can't understand why a guy would risk, even though he was on injured reserve, why he would risk his livelihood to place a bet. So it makes me wonder whether or not this guy has some kind of serious gambling problem.
Good point. And yet we have a team going to Las Vegas next year called the Raiders. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, the Raiders were the rebels of the NFL.
Yeah, and they'll be sharing a stadium with the UNLV running Rebels. Go figure. All right, well, the gambling thing. I remember your dad had a teammate by the name of Alex Karras, and Alex Karras got run out of the league because of gambling. So gambling that's not a good thing, and especially nowadays with more and more cities having gambling nearby. But, yeah, Josh Shaw definitely committed career suicide for sure.
Yeah, I think Paul Hornung and Alex Karras, I think they got suspended for a year. Art Schweitzer had his problem with gambling, but I think his was in – I don't know if his was in pro ball or his was in college, but, he had a problem with gambling.
Right.
But this is, that's just a big no-no. You know
right.
better.
Oh, yeah. Well, he'll be paying a steeper price than the one that he had making that parlay bet. All right, we'll go on to some other stuff. Amari Cooper says he wants to resign with the Cowboys, and he says he wants to be there. I'll tell you what, it'd be good to see Cooper stay with the Cowboys. I think he'll get paid, and if you want to be there, Jerry Jones will certainly make sure he gets paid enough to fulfill his desires.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to sign Amari Cooper back. I mean, they need that number one receiver. So, I mean, it's important to Dak. It's important to Zeke. It's important to that offense, and obviously it's important to that franchise. I mean, they gave up a lot to get him. Why would you give up so much just to have a guy on a 2-year rental? Or a year and a half rental. So it's very, very important that they re-sign him.
Okay, we'll stay with the Dallas Cowboy themes. Jerry Jones thinks Jason Garrett will be coaching in the NFL in 2020, but did not commit to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think he was foretelling the future right there.
Yeah.
I think he's just a dead man walking. I don't think no matter what he does, and I don't think he'll be able to get to the Super Bowl. Dallas is struggling right now. They're not running the football the way that they run the ball in the past. Defensively, even though they have a lot of good players over there, nobody's afraid of Dallas right now. And look at the teams in the NFC that are doing really, really well. You look at San Francisco. You look at Seattle. You look at Green Bay. Obviously, they've had to play New Orleans. Minnesota. It'd be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for them to get out of the NFC. I don't see them if they make it to the playoffs. I don't see them winning a playoff game.
I agree. Giants co-owner and GM says the coaching decisions will come after the season. It sounds like Mr. Pat Shurmur, could be dead man walking too.
Yeah, well, you look at with Ron Rivera getting fired today. There's a possibility that he and Gettleman might reunite out there in New York. I hated to see that happen to Ron. I think he's a quality guy, quality coach. Obviously, he dealt with a big injury this year. That injury has had a tremendous effect on that team. And I think we talked about it earlier that if Ron Rivera didn't survive, that Cam won't survive. And I think they're going to move on from both of them.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that Gettleman Rivera. You know what? I could actually see that happening now that you brought it up. Thanks for bringing it up, Mal. Good stuff. Okay, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals won a game, and Andy Dalton was a quarterback. Whether Andy stays in Cincinnati is one thing, but I think that Andy Dalton is definitely a starting quarterback someplace else next year.
I mean, he's been a quality quarterback since he came in the league.
Right.
He dealt with some injuries.
Right.
That franchise is not the most stable franchise. They've let a lot of their playmakers get out of there.
Right.
I think they stabilize that. Well, I don't know if this guy's going to be the head coach or not, but I think Andy Dalton, he's a starting quarterback. Again, when you look at getting rid of a quarterback, it's just like getting rid of a coach. Who are you going to replace him with?
Right. Good point.
Who are they going to replace Andy Dalton with? And then they had the rookie in there, and obviously they turned away from him and gone back to Andy Dalton. I mean, this is a guy who's played a lot of football, seen a lot of defenses, somebody that you can trust. He probably just needs somebody just to give him, just to coach him up a little bit more. Andy Dalton coach him up a little bit more in some of the nuances of the game, and I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. That way, you're not starting all over, because anytime you change quarterback, basically you're rebuilding.
Oh yeah. No doubt about that. Well, you've seen it through the years for sure. Yeah, I mean, I like Andy Dalton. I really do. Why they sat him in Cincinnati? I mean, right now, I think the only reason they brought him in as starting quarterback is they wanted to avoid the 0-16 club, and they weren't getting anywhere with what they had. If that move is in desperation, Mel, you tell me what desperation is. I'd like to know.
Yeah, there's no question about it, the desperation move. I mean, anytime you set the starter with a new guy in, and all of a sudden you just change your mind and you bring the starter back in there, that's definitely a sign of desperation.
All right, in the game that I covered on Sunday up in Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew has been named starter the rest of the year. Nick Foles' situation up in the air. What are your thoughts about Gardner Minshew taking over the helm up in Jacksonville?
Well, from listening to the coach, he just says, nobody's doing their jobs, and he just gives them the best chance to win because of his mobility. It's not necessarily anything against Nick. I think it's obviously it's a bad break for Nick, him getting hurt first game of the season in the first half, and then having this guy come in there, and then you have Minshew mania and all that kind of stuff, and
right.
The team was kind of rallying behind him. So I think that the franchise sees that they might be able to do something with Gardner Minshew and save themselves a lot of money at the quarterback position.
Right.
Even though I think they committed to Nick Foles for 2 years, there's still a way they can get out of it, but I mean, obviously they're going to have to eat a lot of salary in the salary cap.
Right.
But going forward, that could save them some money. And if they don't see Nick Foles as a future, might as well go ahead and play the rookie, give him some playing time, and see what he can do.
Well, he's 4-4, and if he hadn't have lost badly in London, I still think he'd be under center. But I think part of the reason that Foles' situation hasn't worked out is this is his first year with the Jaguars, and although Doug Marrone was trying to be cautious during the preseason, for a guy with a new team, he should have gotten as many reps as he could with those receivers to become more in sync than he was. So when you act on the side of caution, sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can bite you, Mel. And in this case, I think it bit him badly.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you bring in a new quarterback in the fold, I mean, Nick Foles is a system quarterback, obviously. We know that.
Right.
He was in Philadelphia before the last time he was in Philadelphia, and that didn't work out when he was with Andy Reid. I think he ended up in Arizona, and I think he was with the Rams or something like that. Then he was out of football.
Well, he was with the Chiefs, too, I believe, also.
Nick Foles, he has to be in a certain type of system, and obviously the system probably in Jacksonville is not ideal for him.
Right. Good point. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. I believe he was recently with the Kansas City Chiefs before he landed back in Jacksonville. That was obviously, he went to Kansas City, goes to Philadelphia, then makes his way down I-95 over to Jacksonville. So my question to you is this. Could you see Nick Foles reuniting with the Philadelphia Eagles? Because I know there's talk about there that in Philadelphia that they made the wrong decision and didn't trade Wentz, even though he was their franchise quarterback, and Foles had a pretty good run up there.
No.
You don't?
I don't think they'll do that because